Lisa with Craft Your Practice, and I want to welcome you to episode 9. Should you take insurance as a new therapist? I want to talk about the insurance question today because it's one of the most confusing decisions that you will make when you are starting out. And the reason it's so confusing is that everyone has an opinion. And almost nobody is giving you the actual information that you need to make the decision for your specific situation and your practice. So that's what we are doing today. I'm going to teach you exactly how to think about and think through this. By the end of this video, you are going to have a framework that you can actually use, not someone else's opinion, not ideology, your own numbers applied to your own situation. So let's get into it. And part 1, what this decision is actually about. First, I want to name what therapists are actually arguing about when they argue about insurance, because once you see it clearly, the debate gets a lot less confusing. So there are 3 things in play, and all 3 of them are legitimate. The mistake is treating any one of them as the whole picture. So the first is autonomy. When you are in network with an insurance panel, they set the rate, they set the documentation requirements, and they can require prior authorizations. They can audit your notes. For a lot of therapists, that loss of control feels significant, and it is. And that is a real thing. So the second is access. Here's the equity piece that often gets lost in this conversation. Insurance dramatically expands who can actually see you. A client with a $30 copay can come to therapy. A client who cannot afford more than $30 out of pocket cannot come to you if you are private pay. And that matters. I want you to hold that. So the third is income. And this is where I see the most confusion. The assumption that private pay always means more money is not accurate. Private pay means a higher rate per session, but it also means that you are entirely responsible for filling your own caseload. There's no institutional referral stream. Insurance means a lower rate, but potentially much more consistent volume, especially early on when you don't yet have a referral network. So the math is not as simple as private pay equals more money. All 3 of these, autonomy, access, income, belong in your decision. Let me show you how to actually weigh them. So part 2, the 4 numbers that you need. Here's what I want you to do. Before you decide anything about insurance, I want you to get 4 specific numbers. Write these down. Number 1, your break even. What does it cost you every month just to run your practice? I mean everything. So rent, if you have an office space, your EHR software, liability insurance, licensing fees, continuing education, your phone if you use it for the practice, add it all up. That number is your floor. Whatever practice model you choose has to clear that number before you see a single dollar of actual income. So most new therapists have never done this calculation, and it's one of the most important things that you can know about your practice. Number 2, your viable hourly rate. So here is how you calculate this. Take your monthly expenses from number 1, add what you actually need to take home each month, not what would be nice, what you need. Divide that total by the number of billable hours that you can realistically maintain each week, multiplied by 4. And here is the part most people forget. You are not going to bill every in your work. You factor in cancellations, no-shows, and the admin time that goes with every clinical hour. So what you end up with is your viable rate, the rate your practice actually needs to be financially healthy. It may be different from what feels comfortable to charge. It may be different from what your peers charge, but it is your number and it is the one that matters. So, number 3, what insurance actually pays in your market? Do not assume and do not go by what someone in a Facebook group said. Look up the Medicare reimbursement rate for CPT code 90837 in your specific zip code. Most commercial payers, your Blue Cross, your Aetna, and Cigna will pay somewhere in the range of Medicare rates. Some are a lot higher and some are a lot lower, but Medicare gives you sort of a baseline to work from. So the rates are findable. Go find them. Number 4, how many sessions per week can you actually do comfortably? Not the number that sounds impressive, not the number you think you should be able to handle, the number you can actually maintain at full clinical quality week after week across the year without burning out. For most people and most therapists in full-time private practice, that is somewhere between 18 and 25 sessions per week. Below 18 and the income usually does not work. Above 25 and the burnout risk climbs steeply. So when you have all 4 of those numbers, you can actually model whether insurance makes financial sense for you and your practice. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But now you can run the model instead of guessing. And part 3, what each model actually looks like. Let me walk you through each model practically, not ideologically, practically. What does it actually mean to be in each of these situations? So, in network insurance, you accept the payer's rate. In exchange, you get directory visibility. Clients who are actively searching for an in network provider can find you, and you take on real administrative burden. Credentialing to get on the panel, claim submissions after every session, documentation that meets the payer's standards, not just yours, the possibility of audit, and your cash flow is delayed because you bill after you see the client and get paid sometimes weeks later, usually a couple. So the thing that makes this model work is volume. If insurance gives you a consistently full caseload and the math works at the payer's rate, it's a real foundation, especially early in practice when building referrals from scratch takes time and you're looking to do it right away. So out of network, you set your own rate. Clients pay you directly and either submit to their insurance themselves or you give them a super bill. Your rate is uncapped, but you are fully responsible for filling your caseload. And your clients need to have out of network benefits usually and be willing to use them. So, this model works well if in certain markets, higher income areas where clients are accustomed to this and accustomed to paying their own fees, and harder in markets where most people are fully dependent on insurance and in network coverage. So, private pay, the highest potential income per session, full clinical autonomy, also the highest client acquisition responsibility. This model works when you have a defined specialty, an established referral network, or expertise that commands a premium. So it's harder when you're new and building from zero. Now, the hybrid model, this is where most practices end up. And honestly, it's often the smartest long term model, a mix of payment sources, some insurance clients for volume and consistency, and some private pay clients at a higher rate. More administratively complex, but it creates resilience. If one panel drops their rate, it does not collapse. Your income, none of these is the right answer for everyone. All of them have a math. Your job is to run your math. So, part 4, if you decide to go the insurance route, then I want to teach you something that most therapists learn the hard way. And I don't want you to learn it the hard way like I did. So, if insurance makes sense for your practice, you need to start the credentialing process much earlier than you probably think that you do. And you need to do it in a specific sequence. Here's what I mean. The average time from submitting your application to a panel to your effective start date, the date from which you can actually bill clients, is anywhere from 60 to 150 days, depending on the panel. If you wait until you are about to open your doors to your new practice to start credentialing, you're already behind. And you could be months into seeing clients before you can bill a single insurance claim. And you don't want that to happen. So, and the sequence matters. There are things that have to be in place before you apply to any panel. Your NPI number, your CAQH profile completed and attested, not just started, and your malpractice insurance coverage has to be active. Your practice address confirmed, and if you apply before any of these are in place, you can delay your application or invalidate it entirely and have to start over. And you don't want that to happen. So this is exactly why I built the credentialing accelerator. And then we work through the entire credentialing process and we do it in the right sequence. So you end up paneled and billing, not stuck in a loop of waiting and resubmitting and wondering what went wrong. So there's an April cohort that opens next week, and the link is in the description. And also, there is an evergreen course that's available as well that you can start right away today, even. So, here's what I want you to take away from this: the insurance decision is not a value statement, and it is not an identity statement. It is a practice design decision. Your job is to run your 4 numbers, understand the real trade-offs for your specific market and specialty, and make the decision that fits your practice, not the decision that fits someone else's opinion about what kind of therapist you should be. So if you decide to go the insurance route and you want to move through the credentialing process with a little bit of help without spending months trying to figure it out alone, the Credentialing Accelerator is there for you. So the description is below, and if you are still earlier in the process and the insurance question is just one of the many things that you haven't sorted out yet, I created the Launch Lab, and that's where you should start. The 90-day roadmap for your first year in private practice, and it goes over systems, pricings, policy, marketing in sequence that actually makes sense. It's self-directed, it's $297 and start anytime. So that's also in the description. And next week, I'm walking you through the policies every practice needs and how to present them without sounding like you're reading a legal document. Subscribe so you don't miss that, and I'll see you next week.